Morning is where we're going to be. We are going to wrap up this series this morning. I've been doing a series called Dad's Sense out of a book by the same name that we've kind of borrowed some outlines from. Did all of you guys have a dad quiz today? Did all the dads get a quiz? Okay. It gives you kind of permission to do the quiz during the first part of the message. We're going to look at this about halfway through. So not to embarrass you, you don't have to give your answers out loud later on or anything like that, but we will go over that and just see where we've been doing this study on finances and the importance of Dad, you teaching your children what God has to say about money and finances in Scripture. And I do believe this is the man's responsibility. I believe it is his job to teach the children and teach his young people. You say, preacher, what if I'm single? What if I'm a single person? Well, Mom, that doesn't let you off the hook, okay? God still expects you to teach biblical principles about money and finances to your children. So you don't just get off the hook. We use the little acronym DADS, okay? The first D stood for Discover the Truth, all right? We talked about the importance of understanding that we are stewardships. God is the owner of everything, and we're just stewards of those things that God has given us. Then we talked about becoming an advocate for your children. That's what the A stood for, becoming an advocate. In other words, fighting for your kids, standing up for your kids to teach them the right things, okay? And then the next D that we talked about last week was doing the work. And there were a lot of things I gave you under doing the work. That's just getting the job done, okay? And so this morning I'm going to give you the secret, or 4 secrets actually, to honoring God with your finances, okay? And so let's read Philippians chapter 4, beginning in verse 11, down through verse 13. Paul says, "Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content." And the state he's talking about there is not Kansas or Missouri or Arkansas, okay? Talking about the place that he's in, all right, the condition he's in. "I've learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased. I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And I just want to tack on verse 14. "Nevertheless, you have done well that you shared in my distress." After reading our text, does anybody want to guess what the first secret here is? What is a key word in this passage of Scripture? Contentment. There you go. Kim gets an A for the day, okay? I have learned contentment, all right? And that is the first key secret. We are fast approaching the Christmas season, aren't we? I saw my first Christmas commercial on TV the other day, and I about croaked. I could not believe it. I went, already? It's not even, we used to say it's not even Thanksgiving. Now we're saying it's not even Halloween. But sure enough, there it was. Make the season merry, and snowflakes were falling. And I went, yuck. Are you serious? I mean, good grief. Already Christmas is hitting us. And I don't know about you, but let me ask you parents, how long do the Christmas gifts hold the interest of your kids? Yeah, if you're lucky, 5 minutes, maybe a week. If it's a video game, it's only until they beat the highest level, right? So maybe 4 or 5 months, whatever that takes. But they just don't hold their kid. I remember, I'll never forget, as a kid, we would buy presents, or when our boys were younger and they were really little, you buy them these really neat little toys, and you might be able to buy them a little tool set or something, like a little plastic tool set. And what would they do? They'd open it up, and they'd take out the presents, and they'd throw them aside and then play in the boxes. When they're toddlers especially. And the gift didn't even hold their attention for 10 seconds. If it's socks or underwear, the kid looks at that and goes, okay, closes it back up in the box and sets it aside. So no interest whatsoever there, right? Inventors of games and toys are creative, aren't they? And they are smart. And they are always inventing new things for our kids to want, right? And by the way, they do the same thing for you as adults. They have convinced us that every new electronic gadget, every new tool, we must get it. And even if we have to go into debt to get it. And soon after we have purchased it, we learn the limitations, and we find out that there's something better on the market. And so what happens? Well, now we become discontent. And we want that one instead. And we want this better one over here. We want a new piece of hardware in our garage and another gadget. And the old ones just go in the drawer or get hidden somewhere. And that's why there are commercials, to remind us of our discontent, that we are discontent with what we have. And if they can get us to believe that, then folks, they have pretty much won the battle already. And they have convinced us that there is something out there that will make our life easier, more fulfilling, and give us a sense of being more attractive, make us cooler, make us more hip. That's for you old folks. More happier, more accepted, whatever it takes, we have got to get this thing. And that's why this first secret is contentment. Because it is key, folks, and it is impossible for you, it is so important for you as parents to teach your children contentment. And it's almost impossible to find contentment in our world today, isn't it? And I think it's always been that way. We studied a lot out of Luke chapter 19 where the master gives the men the minas. And can't you just hear those guys? I can almost see them standing around. The one guy says, well, what's up with that? How come old Jephthah over there, how come he got 5 and I only got 2? And you can hear the guy that only got 1 saying, well, how come he got 2 and I only got 1? What's up with that? And discontent. In fact, the guy who only got 1 said, well, if that's fine, if that's the way they're going to treat me, I'm just going to bury this in the ground and not do anything with it. And you can kind of see the discontent. Jesus makes it very clear that each steward is only given an amount to match his ability. Listen, there's a reason why God doesn't give us more sometimes. Because He knows what we can handle. And He knows what we will struggle with. And He knows what will get our eyes off of Him. And He knows that many of us would spend it unwisely or we would waste it. And part of contentment is knowing that God knows what's best for us. He knows how much we can handle. And that's part of contentment. One of your prayers should always be, God, don't give me more than I can handle. We pray that all the time with trials and tribulations, don't we? Oh, God, please don't give me more than I can handle. You ever thought about doing that with money? God, don't give me more than I can handle honorably and in a righteous way for you. Now, most of us wouldn't ever think about praying that. Oh, preacher, trust me, I can handle it. Okay, well, God knows you better than you know you, right? And He knows that many times we would just blow it and waste it. There's a lot of verses on contentment in the Bible. I want to look at a few of them. Turn over to 1 Timothy chapter 6. Don't lose your place in Philippians because we're going to come back pretty quick. Just turn to your right just a few pages into the book of 1 Timothy. The last chapter in chapter 6 and verse 6. He says, now godliness with contentment is great gain. There's not a one of you in the room here that would say, I don't want to be godly. Now, everybody in here, if I were to ask you, say, well, yeah, I want to be godly. But would you want to add on to that contentment? And Paul says, godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. We talked about that last week. And having food and clothing, with these we should be content. Really, that's all you need in life. Food, clothing. Most of us in here this morning look like we're pretty clothed. We're in good shape there. We're doing a collection of coats for kids. It's got a fancy name, and that's not it. But we're doing a collection for coats for kids to help us out the City Union Mission this year through our WANA program, through our church. And, most of us will look through our closet, and there might be 3, 4, 5 coats in there. And, we just kind of wear the one we like. We get choices. And most of us have choices when it comes to food. Today, after church, most of you probably go out to eat somewhere. And even if you don't go out, you'll go home and you'll look through your cupboard and you go, yeah, I've got some choices here. I can either do chicken, or I can do beef, or I can do beef, or I can do chicken, or chicken beef, or whatever, just combine them. But you've got choices. Sometimes with kids, kids, oh, chicken again, well, I'll make you a hamburger, right? And, now there's choices here, okay? Now, my mother never did that, by the way. Just for all you kids, if you want to feel sorry for me, okay? Basically, in our house, if Mother put it on the table and you didn't like it, too bad. You went and made your own. And every once in a while, my mother would make some really weird stuff, okay? My parents loved something called wilted lettuce. You ever heard of that? Pretty much just stick out a bowl of lettuce, pour hot grease over it, and let it go crackle and everything, and then they would eat it. Now, yeah, you're telling me, I don't know what kind of grease. I don't know if it was bacon grease, what it was. My dad liked to cut up little radishes, which were also horrible to me, and put those on there. And they just pour this hot grease over, and it would all crackle because the lettuce had water on it and stuff. And then they just eat it. And they wondered why I didn't want this stuff. And I'm going, I'll just eat a bowl of cereal or something. Give me a bowl of Fruit Loops or something. Anything but wilted lettuce. And then stuffed peppers were the other thing my mother used to always make that I thought was the grossest thing in the world. Take a pepper, clean out all the stuff, cram it with something that used to be meat, okay, and then pile it all in there, and then bake it, and then eat it. Now, I know this is weird, but I've learned to like stuffed peppers, okay? In fact, I think they're really, really, really good stuff, okay? But I've grown and I've matured since then, okay? But if you didn't like it, you just, but we've got all these choices, right? I was talking to Brother Steve Bender one time. Steve is the vice president or president now of the missions department of the Baptist Bible Fellowship in Springfield. And I was talking to him one day, but he was a missionary to Korea for over 15 years. And when he came home, he said one of the things that amazed his kids was when they walked down the cereal aisle. Because he said in Korea they had like 4 or 5 choices of cereal, and that's it. And he said our kids could not believe that you had like just aisles on both sides of choices of cereal, you know. And he said they just stood there and went, wow, Dad, this is like they'd gone to cereal heaven or something, you know, just wow. He said they wouldn't even pick anything because they were just like, wow, just taking it down here and up here and down here, back over here, and just all the choices. And you know, what we've learned, what we've done, and what they've convinced us of is that we can't be content unless we have all these choices. What does Paul say here? If you got food and clothing, you know, you just need to learn to be content. Paul said turn over and look at another passage from Hebrews 13 and verse 5. Turn over just a few more pages in your Bible. Hebrews 13:5. And I think we forget these things as Christians. For one thing, we don't like to talk about them because we're always out to get the latest and newest thing. Hebrews 13:5, he says, let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. Have you ever sat back and said, I wish I had a car like they've got, or I wish I've got clothes like they've got, or I wish I had new shoes like they've got, or I wish that I could do the things that they do, wish we could go the places they go. That's covetousness. Okay? That's looking at what others have and wanting it for ourselves. And Paul says, or the writer of Hebrews says, don't do that. Don't let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with the things that you have. And Paul said back in our text, back in Philippians, he said, I've learned in whatever state I'm in, whatever place I'm in my life, I've learned to be content. Content. You say, well, how did he do it? I want you to look at something with me in Philippians chapter 4 that maybe you've never seen before. And as I studied this week and over the last few weeks actually, this kind of jumped out at me. Well, you know, we love verse 13 of this passage, don't we? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Okay, we have preached that. We have, some of you, that's your life verse. You've claimed it. You may have it on a plaque. It's hanging in your wall somewhere. But the verse 11 and 12 and 14 are surround this verse are verses about being content and being happy in wherever we're at in life. And here's what I'd submit to you this morning. The only way that you're ever going to be happy and completely find joy is if you do it through the strength of Christ. See, it's not fair to ever just pull one verse out of context and just build a life on it or anything else. And what Paul is saying here is, read it again with me again. He says, I speak in regard to need, for I've learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased. I know how to abound. Everywhere in all things I've learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer. Paul, how do you pull this off? Well, I can do all things through Christ, who strengthens me. And nevertheless, you have done well that you have shared in my distress. You see, Paul's saying, listen, the reason I can pull this off, the reason I can be content is because I've learned that I can do anything through Christ. Even be content and happy and joyful, and I don't need anything else. You know the sin that God judged the children of Israel for more than anything else? Complaining and griping. Here we are in the desert. We're out of food again. We're out of water again. After all God's done for us, now He's just going to let us die. They were never content, never happy. And by the way, parents, you know what makes your home miserable more than anything, right? Gripey kids. Doesn't just wear on you? Gripey, you know. We're eating at McDonald's again. We got to eat at Wendy's again. We're having meatloaf again. Spaghetti again. And doesn't that just kind of bring everything down in the house? You know, gripey, you know. Sometimes it's the husband, okay, but, you know, sometimes the kids, okay, or sometimes the wife, okay. We're doing this again, okay, and you know, but it brings everybody down. And God always punished His children for that. And what happens when we become discontent is we spend and we buy. And many, many times we go into debt. If you were asked most Christians, do you walk by faith? They would say, oh yes, I trust God to provide for my needs. Really? Then why all that debt? Why all that debt? You know one of the biggest mistakes that Christians make? And I've had people tell me this. Well, preacher, I've got this really big need, and so I'm going to pray that God meets this need. And then like 3 days later, they'll come back to me and say, well, God met the need. I said, really? How'd they meet the need? Well, I took out this loan, or I put it on a credit card at, my 5% or 12.5% or 28% or 32% interest, and God provided the funds. No, God didn't provide those funds. Some guy down at the bank did, loan you that money so that he could make a lot of money off the money he loaned you, but God didn't provide that money. One of the biggest mistakes we make as Christians is that, well, God, I need this, and I need it by this date, and if you don't give it to me by this date, then I'm just going to go borrow the money. And then we put ourselves in debt, and we've not trusted God by faith. We've trusted on somebody else to purchase that new couch or car or clothes or food or whatever it was. And we don't give God a chance to provide for us sometimes because we're stepping out on our own trust. A study was done by a couple of economists out of Warwick University to find out what made people happy. And, of course, the misnomer is, well, money will make us happy. If we can just get more money, we'll all be happy. That's what most people believe. And they did a study, and they found out that the average man in South America who makes $200 a year is just as happy as the fulfilled American worker who makes $70,000 a year. Now, how could that be? Well, that just doesn't add up to us, because doesn't more things mean more be happier? Not at all. Not at all. I'll never forget when we sent our oldest son on a missions trip. By the way, if you parents, if you ever get a chance to send your kids on a missions trip, do it. Especially while they're in high school, it'll be a great thing for them. I say this because if our church doesn't happen to take a missions trip, then find a church that's going on one. Send them. Throw them on a bus. Say, I'll see you in 10 days and come back. They'll learn lots of things, okay? But make new friends and things like that. But I remember when we found out the youth group that we were in at that time was going to have a missions trip, we said, we're going to send you on a missions trip. And I don't remember if he was all excited about going or anything like that, but I know he went. And I'm going to tell you, when he came back, it changed his life. When our son was about 7th, 8th grade, we had him in a Christian school in Arkansas, and for lack of a better way to put it, the Christian school was kind of expensive. I'm not sure how we pulled it off in the first place, but we sacrificed quite a bit to get him in the school. But in the school, a lot of doctors, lawyers, kids, a lot of pretty well-to-do people. And at the time, I remember before Rick went on the mission trip, he didn't like Walmart jeans. Dad, I can't wear Walmart jeans. I mean, they're Walmart jeans. I mean, come on, who wants to wear Walmart jeans? That's just not cool in our school, okay? And because they were from Walmart, and we'd buy him jeans. And he'd say, where'd you get these jeans? I said, well, they're just jeans. Put them on. Do they fit? You like them? Yeah, but where'd you get them? And if we told him, well, okay, Walmart. I can't wear these. They're Walmart jeans. Send him on a mission trip. He came back, and they shared their little testimonies in front of the church, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, the one thing I really learned this past week was that you can have pretty much nothing and be just as happy if you've got the latest and greatest of all the stuff. And now that's the same kid who calls me or sends me a text, says, Dad, just bought 4 shirts, Salvation Army, $5. Hey, wasn't that great, And now he don't care where his jeans go. Dad bought 3 pairs of jeans at Goodwill. It was awesome, $10 for all of them. And now he's that kid. And it changed his life. And he realized that, in fact, he said to us later, he said, those Christian people down there are just as happy in their Christianity in their life that I am, and probably more happy than even I am here, and all the stuff they don't have that we have. Let's talk about a second secret this morning, and that is gratitude. I know we talked about a little bit, kind of the opposite of discontent, gratitude. Thankful and expressing that gratitude for even the small things. Dads, teach your kids to be grateful, even for small blessings. Listen, you kids have a bed to sleep in tonight? Be thankful, okay? If you just sleep on a couch, be thankful. You have a mom and dad in your home, be thankful. You have a car that takes you places so you don't have to walk, be thankful. A lot of cities, you wives, if you have a refrigerator, be thankful. I remember one of our missionary wives saying one time that every morning her day consists of getting up in the morning, walking down to the market, buying the fresh meat that little critters are crawling all over, and then taking it back, cleaning it up, cooking it, and it's done every single day because they don't have electricity. Can't have refrigerators, things like that. Water consists of going down, getting water from a well that probably wasn't very clean, boiling the water, than cooling the water, and that was their water. You have clean clothes to wear to school every day? Be thankful. A lot of cultures, they only have 2 outfits. They wash one while they're wearing the other one. Next day, they switch them out. They wear the other one and wash that one. And they just do that, rotate it every single day. They don't think another thing about it. Somebody buys you a Christmas present, I don't care how small, be grateful. Be thankful to your mom for making dinner. Be thankful to for her packing a lunch, giving you an allowance or spending money. Be thankful to your dad. Be thankful to your husband for working hard every day. Be thankful to your wife who works hard to maintain the lifestyle the two of you have set for yourself. Just be thankful. Show gratitude. By the way, just for you couples, something free here. Doesn't cost you anything here this morning. One of the leading causes of affairs in a marriage, the person will say, I felt unappreciated. I just felt unappreciated. Instead of thank yous, all I got were complaints. Complaints that I didn't put the milk away on the right shelf. Complaints the grass didn't get mowed to the right height. Complaints that my favorite pair of jeans wasn't clean. Complaints that we had pizza instead of tacos. And it doesn't matter if kids are the complainers or the spouse. If a person feels unappreciated, they won't want to stay there. How many of you are working a job? How many of you are jobs? Okay. Anybody here ever feel unappreciated in your job? Isn't it fun to go to work every day? You know? I go down there, I work for those people, nobody appreciates me. Okay? And tomorrow I'll go back and do the same thing. Don't you love working a job that people appreciate you? Most of you know that I've changed jobs about 8, 9, 10 months ago now. It's been about 10 months ago now. And I work with a boss, and my boss regularly will call the team together. There's 5 of us on the team. She'll say, I just want you to know how much I appreciate what you guys do. She said, you guys work so hard, and I know you work with such heavy cases and different things. I just want you to know I really appreciate what you guys do. Listen, man, I'm telling Brenda, I love this job. I can't wait to get back tomorrow and work some more for people who appreciate me. You know, it just makes the world a difference. People want to be in homes where they're appreciated. Parents want to be in homes where they're appreciated. Spouses want to be in homes where they're appreciated. That was all free this morning. Didn't cost you nothing. Didn't have a whole lot to do with the message. But I'm just saying, be thankful, okay? Dads, you want to start this whole thing somewhere? Start by teaching gratitude to your kids. I want to read a passage of Scripture. I want you to turn there with me. I know you know the verse, but I want you to see it today. Psalm chapter 23, okay? And I want you to see something that, and I don't know if we ever put it in this light. I read this a lot at funerals. We talk about when the days are dark and, and times are rough. We talk a lot about it, and then we go to Psalm 23. But I wonder how many of us put this in a financial context. Because I think it applies here too. And I know you know this verse. If I ask us to all quote it, you could probably all quote it. But Psalm 23 and verse 1 says this, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And when it comes to finances, I wonder how many of us have thought about that. Am I wanting all these other things? Am I wanting changes in my life here? Am I wanting all this? Listen, if God is your shepherd this morning, which if you're a believer, if you're a Christian this morning, He is, why are you always unsatisfied with what He's providing and always trying to get more and trying to get more and trying to get more and trying to get more? Contentment. Contentment. The third secret is modeling. Modeling. Guys, pull out your little test this morning. I have never done this, I don't think, in a sermon, but I just had so much fun with this that I thought I'd pull it out. Ladies, you didn't get it because you'd probably know all the answers. Okay, so I did this with the guys. I will go through this real fast. I looking at the time here, probably didn't allow enough time for all this stuff, but I gave you a little true or false quiz here about finances, okay? The reason I gave you this is because you can't teach your kids what you don't know, okay? So you don't have to turn this in, but if you bomb this test, then I'm going to challenge you to go do some research and do some studying, okay? I gave you first question. By law, there's a minimum liability on your car insurance. True or false? True. That's true. Most states, it's usually different by states, but there is a minimum that you have to carry, okay? Now, you're lucky here because when you go down to get car insurance, they say, well, you have to have this. Law says so, okay? So that was kind of a freebie, okay? Question number 2, if your golf clubs are stolen from your car insurance covers the loss. False. That's false. What covers it? Your home insurance, okay? Your home insurance. In fact, that happened to me. Had our car stolen. I I called my car insurance. And I said, hey, had my car stolen and lost my golf clubs. They said, what are you calling us for? Call your homeowner's insurance. Okay? And so it didn't cover it. I didn't know that. True or false? An umbrella liability policy protects for damages over and above your car and house insurance. That's true. If your disability insurance is tax deductible, your benefit, if disabled, would be tax-free to you. That's false, okay? It's an income, okay? Anytime you get that money, then it becomes an income to you. You have to pay taxes on it. Number 5, if you're disabled and have a group policy, your benefit could be lowered if you receive Social Security disability insurance. That is true. Number 6, if you leave your place of employment, COBRA will allow you to continue your health insurance indefinitely. That's actually false. There's a limit on it. And plus, by the way, COBRA is very, very expensive. If you have ever had to go that route, just a little hint here. Stop after the first phrase. If you leave your place of employment, my advice, don't. Okay? Unless you've got another one already lined up. It always kills me when men especially call me and say, yeah, I just quit my job. I got tired of it. Didn't like it anymore. And I go, okay. What do you got in the wings? Nothing. Okay, well, okay. So you must make a whole lot more than I do. Number 7, Social Security is a good retirement plan. False. It's a horrible retirement plan. In fact, when they put it together in place, it was never designed for retirement, okay? If you put true on that, do that a couple times, okay? Number 8, if you have a will, your family members will not have to deal with going to probate court. That's false. Actually, if you have a will, you will be required to go to probate court. That's how they resolve a will, okay? In fact, you will guarantee that they go to court, and they will set a court date, okay? If you want to avoid court date, get a trust, okay, which is different, which is a whole lot better, and we can talk about that sometime privately if you want to. Number 9, term insurance is intended to last forever. That's false, hence the word term. Okay, it's for a specific term, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, okay? Usually the max is 20 years. Term insurance is great until the term runs out and now you're 70. And you want to get more term insurance, then they go, well, we can write you more term insurance, but you're a lot older now, and it's going to cost you a whole lot more. You're not as healthy as you used to be. Number 10, the tax benefit of life insurance is tax-free. That's actually true. It's actually true in most cases. Number 11, interest received on a savings account is tax-free. That's false. If you do your taxes and you have an interest-bearing checking account or savings account, you'll have to pay income on that. Okay, count that as income and pay taxes on it. Certificates of deposits are very risky. That's false. They're actually pretty good. Okay, they're insured. They're also guaranteed rate of return on those. The only problem with them now is percentage is like 0.00003% or something. Yeah, I saw one the other day. It was like 14 months for. I think it was 0.8 or maybe 1.0. One day it was like 1.5, and I thought, we should jump on this. Isn't that sad? Tax deferred and tax deductible are the same thing. That's false. Interest on your home mortgage is tax deferred. That's false. It is tax deductible. Number 15, money you place in your 401k is tax deferred. That is true. Number 16, Roth IRAs are tax-free if the money is withdrawn after age 59 and a half. That is true. Good job, Josh. Josh got time. Number 17, money in an IRA is very liquid. It's very false. It's not liquid at all. Okay, it's not even close to. In fact, it's considered the least liquidable money there is. Okay, because you can't get to it without penalty. Number 18, the tax penalty for withdrawing money from an IRA before 59 and a half is 7.5%. That's false. It's 10%. Actually, cost you even more. Trick question. I know, I got you on that one. Number 19, if you own a bond, you are acting as a lender to the issuing institution. That is true. If you own stock in a company, you own part of that company. That's true. All right, now take that home. Fix the ones you got wrong. Do it the one. Here's my point. You can't teach to your kids what you don't know. Okay? And every man, especially in this room, every husband should know the answers to these questions. Okay, because you can't teach what you don't know. You can't pass on. You can't model. And that's the third point. That's the modeling. Proverbs 17:16 says, why give a fool money when he has no intention of acquiring wisdom? Why should God give you more if you have no intention of learning more about how to handle finances and how to make it work? Okay? Just like everything else in life, there's a lot of information out there about money, but it is not all good. Okay? In fact, a lot of it is very bad. And listen very closely to me on this, folks. This is the master's money. Remember? He owns it all. You are just a steward of it. And it is very important that you learn about it and very important that you model wise practices for your children. Let me give you another quick test. Dads, would you rather have $5 million that is taxable at retirement or $4 million that is tax-free at retirement? Yeah, most everybody would say $4 million, okay? So here's my next question. Is your retirement tax-free or not? And most men that ask that question to go, I don't know. Well, how come you don't know? It makes a big difference. It makes a world of difference when you go to retire someday. Well, I've never thought about it. Well, it's time to start thinking about it, okay? In fact, I'm going to give you a list of people that you should meet with at least every 2 years, minimum. Minimum every 2 years. Probably every year, but minimum every day. You got to talk with your homeowners, property and casualty agent and say, do I have enough insurance to cover my home if it burns down? Whether you know it or not, lumber prices go up, okay? If your house burns down, if you just have replacement costs, it's going to cost a lot more to replace it now than it did 5 years ago or 15 years ago when you set up that policy, okay? You need to talk to them every couple of years. You need to have an attorney to reveal your will or your trust. Well, I would, preacher, but I don't have one. Well, shame on you. Get one, okay? Because if you don't have a will or a trust and something happens to you or it happens to both of you, if you're like my wife and I, we travel a lot of places together. If we both die and I don't have a will or a trust in place, which, by the way, I do, if I don't have one, then somebody else gets to decide what happens to my kids. I don't want that. I want to have that option, decide what happens to my kids, okay? Now they're old enough. They're on their own, okay? But before that, okay? But if you have minor children, my goodness gracious, you ought to have a will or a trust. You ought to meet with your banker. See if the account that you have is the best one for you and your family. A lot of people I know, well, I got my checking account when I was in high school. Isn't that the same, good as the one, now that I'm 40? Isn't that about the same? No, it's not. You should ask a financial consultant. You ought to seek one out because you probably don't have all the answers, okay? You need to find out someone who does because things change all the time in the financial world. You say, preacher, how much do I need to know? The answer to that question is as much as you can. As much as you can. Things change all the time. We're seeing that in the healthcare insurance thing and all that kind of stuff. There's not a one of us in this room that have a clue what's going on in healthcare. Not a one of us, okay? Because nobody's told us yet, okay? And most of the people who passed it, they don't know either, okay? But that's beside the point, okay? But nobody really knows the answers, okay? But yet, we're going to, a lot of us going to delve into it and get into it, but we don't know the answer. So we need to find somebody who does. Okay? Listen, if you don't know the answer to your question, find somebody who does. Sometimes you will call me with biblical questions. I love it when you do that. I'm all for it. Preacher, what does the Bible say about this? Or where does the Bible talk about this? I love that. Well, don't call me and say, preacher, which checking account should I get for my family? Which is better? I don't know. I can't find it here. So find somebody who does know the answer to that question. I would say if you're looking for a financial advisor, number one, make sure they're a Christian. Make sure they're not going to stick you with a bunch of fees. Some of the things I can coach you on that too. Last secret this morning. Last secret is called imprinting. So what in the world is imprinting? Well, let me give you a hint. I just discovered a company called Team Baby Entertainment. Have you ever heard of this company? Team Baby Entertainment. What this company does is they make videos for small children, toddlers, babies actually, to introduce your child to the parent's favorite pro or college sports team. This is legit. Okay? And some of you are going, really? Where can I get this? Okay? Greg Scheinman, CEO, said this: our product is informative, entertaining, and educational way to introduce a child to the university and or team you root for. And if you look them up online and you check out the videos, it's Baby Tiger, Baby Sooner, Baby Longhorn, Baby Chief. There's one for the Chiefs. If you want to brainwash your kids now and early, Baby Chiefs. Baby Bama. I thought that one was funny. Baby whatever. Number 3 on the list, by the way, of popularity was Baby Sooner. Okay, and Brenda's like, I wish I would have known those existed years ago, and I praise God we didn't know about them. Okay, listen, there's a reason why our kids cheer for the Razorbacks and for the Tigers, because I brainwashed them as babies. Okay. I didn't Brenda buy him an little tiny Oklahoma shirt, and I'd hide it, okay? And it would just randomly get lost in the wash, okay? And I bought him little tiger outfits and little Razorback, and we turned our little boy into a Razorback one year for Halloween. He was the cutest little thing. Why did they learn to? Because we started young. What were we doing? We were imprinting on their life. what we felt was important. Now, why does this company do this? Because they have learned, and by the way, on there's the fight song. Your little kid learns the fight song. Yes, yeah, and stuff like that, okay? They've learned that if they can get a toddler, even though they're just learning to walk and talk to like a team, there's tremendous buying power. Why? Because the dad will buy things for that kid to wear. They'll make money. The school makes money on down the line. Get them while they're young. Have you heard about tweens? Anybody familiar with tweens? That was a word that did not exist in retail just a few years ago. But now, and Target carries it, they carry a tween line. It's that age in between teenager and what's considered grade school. They're tweens, tween girls. Never talk about tween boys, but just tween girls. It's a whole product line designed for that early middle school age kids to suck them in now. And if you look at those product lines, it's very adult-oriented lines. Okay, why? Because they want to get them while they're young. Okay. Imprinting is everything. Stanford University a few years ago studied 63 kids. They brought in 63 kids, set them down at a table, wanted to feed them lunch. They bought all the food from McDonald's. All the food from McDonald's. All the chicken nuggets, all the fries, all the hamburgers. They wrapped some nuggets in McDonald's wrappers, and all the others they wrapped in just non-branded, okay, plain brown wrapper and all that kind of stuff. And they asked the kids, which one tastes better? What do you think the kids said? McDonald's tastes better than those other yucky nuggets, okay? Why? Because it's better. Same thing. Walmart jeans. Boo on Walmart jeans, okay? Boo on Aldi cereal. It's the same cereal. Some of you dads are going, no, it's not. No, it's not. Got to have Captain Crunch with the little picture of the pirate guy on the front, right, of the captain, okay, because then it only tastes good. But branding is huge. Now, how does all this apply? Dad, here's my point. Your kids will do what you do. That's just the thing. Your kids will do what you do. If you haven't picked up on that yet, you're not spending enough time with your kids. But your kids will do with what you do. And if there's not a dad in the home, they'll do what you do, Mom. Okay? If they see you run through the convenience store 3 times a day for a soda, guess what they're going to do? Hey, can we go through the convenience store 3 times and get a soda? Okay? If you only shop the expensive stores, they will too. If every time you run through to grab a gallon of milk, you're going to Quick Trip instead of Walmart and paying $4.50 a gallon instead of $2.50 a gallon, that's what they're going to do, okay? Here's my question. What are you imprinting in the hearts and minds of your kids when it comes to money? And here's my point. You have to be intentional about this, teaching them to be faithful stewards of God's money. And because the world is doing their job to imprint upon your kids, you have to be busy about imprinting God's principles about money to your kids. Let's bow our heads this morning.